Tonight we're discussing the floods, and with me in the studio, we have, of course, Sam George, a very good friend of the show. He's the parliamentary candidate for Ningo Prampram. The last time somebody asked me if I thought you would win the Ningo Prampram seat on Twitter, and I said that it's actually a no-brainer.
Thank you for that endorsement.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer, of course. He will win that seat. And also, you look surprised, Sakasalia. I've endorsed some of your other candidates on the show before. I mean, I don't hesitate. Like Afenyo Markin, he'll win that seat easily. I say it all the time. Sakasalia is a member of the communications team of the NPP. It's good to have you back on the show. Or you were expecting me to say the NPP gentleman will win this seat?
Oh, of course, of course.
Why?
But you know the track record of Sylvester in Ningo Prampram.
What was the track record?
I mean, he's been with the people and all that. And the survey we have also done, conducted in Ningo Prampram, shows that he's important.
But you can't impose your survey on me. I've also done my survey.
Well,
and I'm telling you,
so your survey against our survey.
Exactly.
So we see what happens.
It's the same way I feel about some NPP candidates in other constituencies, and I think that they will.
But feelings alone cannot win elections.
Who told you? Perceptions play a big role. Anyway, Jeff.
For me, I'm not perturbed. My eyes remain fixed on the prize.
Absolutely.
When they talk about the track record of Sylvester, I wonder what that is.
I don't know.
Well,
we're not here for that.
Yeah, prior to the 2012 elections, I don't know what the track record was. But then it's all good. I mean, we'll keep working on the ground. Let me say a very good evening to my youth organizer, Habibu Mohammed, who is watching the show. He's doing a fantastic job for us in Afenya. And so, and the whole team in Afenya, Tanko, Basharu, Ninoy. I mean, great guys doing great work.
Okay.
I'm nothing without them on the ground. They are the field marshals. I just follow their lead.
It's good when you recognize your team.
Sure.
Anyway, let's talk about the floods. You've seen pictures of the floods from last weekend, from Saturday. I mean, Saturday I was in town after 9 p.m. It was quite scary getting home. And even last night. And then this morning, what have you made of it so far?
I met or I encountered the rains first between Suhum and Signboard before.
Where? In Suhum?
No, from Suhum. I was driving in from Doma.
Okay.
I had gone for the 1 week ceremony, remembrance anniversary of Dr. Opuni's mother's passing.
Okay.
And so I was driving back and the rain started around Suhum till about Signboard. There's a town called Signboard just before you get to Nsawam. And when I drove through the rains, I mean, I know the struggle I went through driving through that rain.
And you drive a good car.
Well, I said to myself that if this happens in Accra, that's mischief.
I'm just saying that you drive a good car. So compare it to those driving the rickety vehicles.
If this happens, it wasn't about the car, it was about the quantum of water pouring out.
Right.
If this happens in Accra, then we were in for possibly a major disaster. Look, let's call a spade a spade. I'm not going to sit here today and try to sound politically correct. I'm a Ghanaian, and I'm going to sound as patriotic as I can. We have a fundamental problem in Accra with our drainage system. In fact, I don't think we have a drainage system. I think that we have a very poor drainage system in the city that has been compounded by a lack of planning by the town and country planning officials who have sat aloof and allowed licenses to be issued for people to build on waterways. We do not have a proper coverage of our drainage, even in areas where there's an existing drainage. Most of those drains are blocked. The drains are not blocked by extraterrestrial beings. They are blocked by Ghanaian citizens. Myself, you, Salia, we see the rains. People like us, Ghanaians like us, maybe not you, not me, but maybe ordinary Ghanaians like us, they see the clouds gather, and the first thing they remember is that they have refuse that's packed up in the house. They throw it in the gutter, expecting the rains to wash it off. And so we have a big problem in this country. I was listening to the news the other day, and someone actually brought a news clipping from 1957 of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah at Kwame Nkrumah Circle that had been flooded. And so this is a problem that's been there from when the population of Accra was less than 500,000 people. Today, Accra's population is well in excess of 5 million people. but you still have the same problems. In fact, in a worse form existing here. We've seen Flight Lieutenant Rawlings in dinghies and helicopters. We've seen President Kufuor in a helicopter. We've seen Professor Mills in a helicopter. John Mahama may not have sat in a helicopter yet to view this, but he's walked through the June 3rd disaster, which happened last year. I don't see it ending. I think next year we will come back and sit here and speak about this problem. And 10 years from now, we'll come back and sit here and talk about the drainage in Accra, simply because, one, our authorities have not planned the city right. And forgive me, this is not politics. This is civil public service. Those who sit at town and country planning don't stand for elections. They are there. Some of them were there. Some people in that department were there under Flight Lieutenant Rawlings. In fact, some of them were there under President Liman as fresh graduates who had just gone into the place. Today, they are the top directors there. They serve President Liman, serve President Rawlings, serve President Kufuor, serve President Mills. They are serving President Mahama. The problem is there. This is not a problem of our political class. It's a problem of the technocratic bureaucracy that we have in this country, where people grant licenses. No minister grants licenses or building permits. It is the technocrats who do that. They grant the permits, people build on waterways. Who build on waterways? Ordinary Ghanaians who take money, fill a waterway, a waterlogged area, build a house in there, and create problems for the entire community. We have ordinary Ghanaians who will not pay the refuse collectors, who again also are part of the problem, because they don't come regularly. They are supposed to come on Monday. You put your refuse out on Monday. They don't show up. They don't show up till Wednesday. Stray dogs will come and pull your refuse. So you don't want to send your refuse out. Then the rains come. You put your refuse in the garbage. Until and unless as citizens we become responsible in our activities and pay our refuse collectors, who also must be diligent in the discharge of their duties, and until and unless our technocrats stop cutting corners with planning our city, and until and unless the political class develops the political will to look Ghanaians in the face and say, we need to do a massive demolition exercise in Accra of every building, irrespective of whose own it is, sitting on a waterway. Get a proper court of competent jurisdiction to give us a demolition order, and let us rid the city of buildings and structures in waterways. Let us cover our drains. Look, it is not for any reason. It is not because the Western world, where you go to and you see that all their drains are covered. It's not because they have excess money. It's simply because they know that human beings are, forgive my Greek, we are silly. Be you black, white, red, or green, we are all the same. If you put the white man in Accra, or you put him in New York, and you give him open drains, he will put refuse in the drain. And that is why the New York State Department or authorities will decide to cover their drains. And so our local authorities, the political will must be there that when we are doing drains, we must cover them. Because when you cover them, then the irresponsible citizens, in quotes, will not have the opportunity to put refuse in an open drain. So until and unless all of us along the chain, the citizen, the refuse collector, the bureaucrat sitting at the town and country planning office, the politician, and the contractor, until we all do the right thing, Abba, we will sit here every year and complain. We will sit here every year, see the visuals of people's houses flooded. We will clean it. Nadmo will visit them. We'll give them rice and give them mattress. And next year, we'll do the same thing again.
Great submission by you, Sam George. Saka, would you agree?
Yeah, well, I perfectly agree with all the things Sam George said. But you see, we are a nation of talkers. We simply do not want to take the bull by the horn. This case of Accra drains, Accra flooding and all that has been with us perennially. I mean, it occurs every now and then, almost every year. I remember even last year when we had, on the June 3rd, when we had that disaster. I remember some Canadian actually bet that it will occur this year. And actually, it's occurring. And it will only be a fool who will bet with such a person. Because we knew that this is, an annual, a situation. But how is it that every year, invariably, we come here and talk about it. And then people who are supposed to ensure that the right thing is done are also the people who are also, lamenting the same situation. Because that is why we should have leadership. Leadership is everything. Even in areas where in deserts, we see people, get water in there because they plan methodically and ensure that what they lack, they get it. We all know, Accra is low-lying area. It's in elevation, it's just about 92 meters feet above sea level. And we know the rivers that bounds it and all that. We know that with that knowledge, any leader worth his salt would take certain mechanisms, would put certain mechanisms in place to ensure that the annual ritual of flooding of Accra is prevented. One, in 2014, when this thing, 2013, when we had some of these things, we've seen the president talk about, even before this current president, we've seen Professor Mills talk about it, especially within the circle enclaves. They talk about it. The mayor came and said that they were going to ensure that the Conti project takes off as quickly as possible. It never saw the light of day. We have seen situations where people build on waterways. Within the movement of the flooding, they go around, do certain inspection and all that. And after the inspection, they go and sleep. And nothing is heard about it. We have even seen a situation where the government set a committee to look into the flooding situation and then advise them. As at now, the committee has not even made its report public for us to actually peruse and to know the way forward. So if in the midst of lives being lost, properties being lost and all that, we seem not to care much about, the delivering, but only the rhetorics. This is what will be happening every time. Because
I'm sorry, let me cut in rudely and just say that we've also been joined by Robert Coleman. He's in charge of communications at Zoomline. And before you continue, and then Robert comes in, we've been joined on the phone by the mayor of Accra, Alfredo van der Poy. Thanks for joining me, if you can hear me. I'm sure you've sent out a team already to do an assessment of the floods so far. What can you tell us? Can you hear me, sir? Hello, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, very well. Thank you. I was asking if you've already sent out a team to get you an assessment of the floods and its impact so far, and what can you tell us from the initial assessment that has been done, if any has been done at all?
Unfortunately, your question is not coming out. I cannot hear the question.
Okay, I will try once again. Did you hear me say I'll try once again?
Yes, please try.
Very good. So I was asking if you've already sent out a team to do an assessment of the floods and the impact it has brought along, and what can you tell us about the initial assessment that has been done?
Well, since the beginning of the last 4 days that we've been experiencing these rains, we have had our team on the ground. Number one, given the experiences that we have had in previous years, to make sure that we would canvass all of our flood-prone areas to see if any high levels of flooding was taking place. Number two, if such thing was happening, then we have to put in rescue missions. But unfortunately, or fortunately, we have never had to send out any major rescue missions. The flood levels have not risen to the point where it is very destructive. Water has been able to run the course through the Odo and the Kole Lagoon. And I think up to now we can say that we have not experienced any major damages along the flood-prone areas. Yes, there have been standing waters in some pockets of Accra, but it has not risen to the point where we would say that it has caused any havoc or danger to lives and property.
Okay, I mean, that is the assessment you have received from your team, so well enough. But I'm sure you have seen pictures and read stories of people who were caught up in the flood, especially around the Circle area, when they had to be dragged out of their vehicles. When you go to Soweto, we understand people have been displaced, their homes have been flooded. Is it also still to say that it hasn't reached a destructive level when we're hearing and seeing pictures of that magnitude, hearing stories of that magnitude?
Well, if you ask me questions, I am the mayor of Accra, and I'll give you responses to my jurisdiction.
Okay.
Soweto areas is on the Accra Central.
Right.
So I would not, even though I'm concerned, but I wouldn't know what was done in those areas. What I stand by is the fact that issues around Circle, around Adabraka, around areas, yes, when in the midst of the raining, we'll have some level of flooding. But still, cars are able to go through, and it has not really risen to the level where we have to put in massive rescue, have the fire, have the police, have that going out. We have not gotten to that level, and I think it's good news for the city of Accra.
Right, and the rains, I mean, we can't say that the rains are going to stop anytime soon. Meteo says that we are going to experience more rains, and so are you putting any mechanisms in place? I mean, we are happy to hear you say that so far we haven't recorded any major destruction, but what measures have you put in place to ensure that if the rains increase in its fall, we are not going to experience anything of that sort?
Well, we appreciate the information of the forecast, and that puts us in the mindset of readiness. However, it's also important to note that we have done certain things in the past, for the past 8 years as a government, to get us to where we are. That is the massive dredging that is going on in the Korle Lagoon, opening the Korle itself to receive high volume of water and be able to run it into the ocean. The Odo River as well, being desilted and dredged massively. The silt all taken out so that it can hold water and transmit or let it flow into the sea. We will continue that work. That is our commitment to the public to ensure public safety. And then the rain, if the rains come, we always stand ready. Fire is ready, police is ready, the Messet security committee is ready if we have to dispatch for any rescue mission with the NADMO and everybody. And if we should get to that, we don't hope that, but should it get to that, we are ready to act.
Okay, thank you very much. We were on the phone with the Mayor of Accra, Alfred Oko Vanderpoy. Saka Salia, yes. I'll come to you now to continue.
Yes, as I was saying, it's more or less the usual rhetorics, because I am not happy with the fact that the mayor will tell us that we have not reached the point of destruction.
But if we haven't reached the point, we haven't reached the point.
No, but the fact of the matter is that, I mean, the life got lost yesterday when it rained. I mean, after the deluge, life got lost. You see, that is a different. I mean, around circle here. I was told, when I was even coming here, I had to pass there to confirm that. And I was actually told that it happened. And I'm saying that, you see, the difference between we Africans and then those, I mean, in other jurisdictions, is that we don't value lives. If we value life, look at what happened last year. Over 100 people got lost their lives, even though, I mean, there was a disaster, fire and water and all that. But I'm saying that the real reason was because of the flooding. And we never actually, took steps to ensure that we prevented it. And that was the reason why it occurred. You see, because of what happened last year, I thought with the ravages of time, I mean, after 1 year, we would have been more experienced and all that. But it's as if we are not as experienced as we should be.
But you heard the mayor. I mean, when
he's talking about the dredging of the Korle Lagoon and all those. Up to now, even the Odo River has not, the dredging has not finished yet. And I wonder 1 year, because if we are serious, that thing doesn't need to take 1 year to finish it. It can easily take 2-3 months.
You have expertise.
It can take 2-3 months to finish it if we are serious as a nation.
What do you mean? I mean, how can it take 2-3 months to
2-3 months
that?
you can...
you have expertise on this?
Yeah,
you have expertise.
I'm telling you.
You have expertise
Exactly.
on dredging. You know the technology. You know.
Wait. What does it take to
What
remove,
does it take?
What does it take to remove mud from a storm drain? What does it take?
I'm not an engineer.
You don't need any extraordinary expertise
really
to undertake such a project. You just use the right equipment and then dredge and go and dump them somewhere.
Okay,
that is what we should be doing.
Okay, thank you.
Instead of us sit here and talk, look, we talk about planning and all those things. As at now, somebody should tell us. I'm happy he's here, but even though he's not, a member of government, I'm saying that if you look at those buildings that were on waterways, what have government done about it? If you look at even...
I would have to throw that question back to you.
Yes.
Because for 8 years, your party was in power, and we experienced floods. Yes.
No, but
in that 8 years, we didn't experience a water and fire disaster.
Let me tell you.
But what was done to ensure that buildings and waterways were destroyed?
A lot were...
but the buildings are still there. Unless these buildings
not only the buildings.
Just yesterday.
You see, not only the buildings. You know that this Odo a drain. It was because of the instrumentality of GhOne.
Right.
And that is one. Secondly, there were people who wanted to build on those, areas that were prevented. Okay. Actually, the government at the end of the day then prevented people from building on those. But immediately these people came into power, they allowed people to build in the waterways, and that accumulated in some of these disasters.
They deliberately, knowing very well the repercussion, and ask them to build in the waterways.
No, I'm coming.
Does that taste
if you know the repercussion, does
that taste well in your mouth?
Listen to me. If you know the repercussion, and even if the person finished building, and you value life, you have to demolish it without, blinking an eye.
All right, let me come to Robert Coleman. Robert works for Zoom Lion. I'm sure around this time you have a lot of work to do.
A lot of work to do.
Yeah.
A lot of work to do.
What have you been doing so far?
Yes, let me first of all say that I heard the mayor of Accra speak to the issue, and let me say that a lot has been done from last year. As we speak now, we have 2 mobile amphibious multi-purpose dredging machines that we call water masters on the Korle Lagoon.
So does it take 2 to 3 months to dredge?
It takes more. So I'm surprised my good friend Saka is saying that it takes 2 to 3 months to desert. He does not know what he's talking about. If you speak to the engineers, they will tell you it is a continuous process, because we have the main Odo drain and we have the Korle Lagoon. Wow. As we speak now, anytime it rains, most of our areas are not paved. So day in and day out, we have silted materials moving all the way from the Kwapim Hills to the Odo drain. Then it flows to the Korle Lagoon. So it is a continuous process. You cannot do it and say you have finished with it. But let me say that if you go to the final disposal site currently and you do an assessment of the desilted materials that has been cut or hauled to the final disposal site, then you will appreciate what we are talking about. Today you read in the papers, and when you look at the back page of the Daily Graphic, you see a picture there. I also have a picture of a similar issue over there that was last year. And after last year, the work that has been done at that particular area. But yesterday, when Daily Graphic went to the site, they had this particular picture. That should tell you that as we desilt, as we clear the garbage and all that from the drains, people are still dumping refuse into the drains. They are using the drains as waste receptacles. Right. So it is a continuous process. So we cannot say that people don't value life and they are doing absolutely nothing. A lot is being done we have excavators on site, we have the dredge masters also over there, that is the water master over there, tipper trucks are there, and a lot of work is being done. We have about 19 tributaries to the Odo drain. As I speak to you now, almost a lot has been desilted, and I'm very much aware that work is still progressing. So it is not a one-day job, it is a continuous process, and I can tell him that if he wants to go to these areas, we will send him over there, we will send him to the final disposal site, and he will appreciate the work that has been done.
When were you there?
Oh, today.
And you didn't see any work being
No,
done?
the point is that, you see, you don't do this sort of thing.
But because you are not an engineer.
I'm coming. Because it just rained yesterday, then you rush with equipment for the cameras. Please.
But were you listening to him?
I've listened to him.
Saka,
I'm saying that.
Saka, it has rained on 2 occasions heavily.
But where were you doing? The excavators and all those things,
yes.
were they there before the rain? Or they came there after the rain?
The excavators has been on site
Since
from
when?
January.
And up to now,
that is why I am saying
up to now, work has not finished.
No.
So what were you people doing there?
But
Because
he said it's a continuous process. Okay,
Do you know the
Can I
volume of
come
waste
in?
in the Odo drain?
Can I come in? I think that listening, I have an engineering background, even though it may not necessarily be in the requisites area of engineering that has to do with dredging. But I think that if you listen to Coleman, he makes a very important point that most of the roads in our country are not paved. And so because most of them have loose earth material on them, once there's fast flowing water, it definitely will have the surface material being washed off into the major receptacle in the metropolitan area, which is the Odo. Now, for anybody to suggest that dredging is simple business, dredging is not excavating, it's not sand winning. Dredging is different from sand winning. I mean, sand winning is when you just have the excavators dig the earth and then dump them in a tipper truck. Look, with dredging, the machines are not necessary. And if you looked at what happened during June 4th, the media was there. When at the Kole, a whole excavator, brand new excavator, got swallowed up by the Kole Lagoon. Okay, and so it is, and we must be mindful of the fact that because it is water, fast flowing water, we're not so blessed also to have so many amphibious dredges in the country at the moment. It's good to know that Coleman tells me we have 2 currently on site on the Odo, right? On the Odo.
Yes.
Now, if you look at the Kole Lagoon,
yes, and the other one is at the circle end of the Odo drain.
Fantastic. Yes. If you look at the footage you're showing, you realize that a lot of debris, which is personal effects, rubbers, plastics from home use, which you regularly find in residential refuse, is what you see clogging the drains. And so, you see, I'm not absolving the politicians of any blame. Absolutely not. Look, this thing, I think there are 5 different people to blame for the problems we have. First, the politician. Easy target. 2 is the technocrats who sit at land, town and country planning, who are supposed to plan our cities and know where drains are supposed to sit and all, and yet give permits for people to build on them. 3 is you, me, Coleman, Nanaba, all the people watching us today, ordinary Ghanaians, who, when they see the clouds, take their refuse, instead of paying Coleman to come and pack the refuse with Zoom Lion, they don't pay, they put the refuse in their gutters. 4 is the refuse collectors themselves, Zoom Lion and the likes, and other companies, who also are not very consistent in picking up the refuse. Because at times, they're supposed to come on Monday, they don't come on Monday, they choose to come on Wednesday without any notice. And so because I also don't want to put my refuse out and stray dogs will come and scatter the front of my house, I put it in. So 2 weeks of refuse is sitting there, and then problems. Or they tell you that their vehicle is broken down. And this is not about one company. I mean, it's across all the...
All we owe them.
You say?
All we owe them.
All again, we owe them. You get me? So, but you see, again...
The 5th. You've given me 4.
Yes, so the 5th one, no, I think there are 4.
Okay.
Because, you see, and me, there, I don't want to go into that because that's a different argument. And I don't want it to look like I'm taking one company on because there's only one company represented here. But the issue about owing the refuse companies, and so they won't come and collect our refuse, doesn't make sense to me. Because if government owes you, government doesn't owe you for not picking the refuse. When you pick the refuse, I pay you. I pay you for picking my refuse. So if I'm paying you to pick my refuse and government is owing you, come and pick my refuse, and then when you get to the dumping site, choose not to process it for government. But you can't say that I have a contract with you. It's a two-way contract. I pay you, you come and pick my refuse, and you dispose of it. In the disposal, you have another contract with another party. So if that is a different contract from mine, why should you hold me at ransom? So I have an issue even with that idea of government owing them, and so they leave our refuse in our home. I think it's a breach of the contract they have with us, but I don't want us to go into that. The bottom line today for me is that if we want to fix the problem, and we don't want to have our presidents visit flood sites, we don't want to every year dedicate 1 day or 1 week to talk about rains, and more rains will come. More rains will fall. We are praying for rains to even fall up north so that they can fill the Akosombo Dam for us. So more rains will come. But if we don't want to keep sitting here to talk about rains and floods and drainage, we must become responsible as a people. We must put the politics aside. Look, in this country, whenever we politicize any issue, it never works. Look, what are you going to say? Nanado will become president, touch wood, and then when he becomes president, flooding will stop.
What did he say?
I said touch wood. I don't believe, God forbid. But are you going to suggest to me that Nanado has a magical wand? I'm coming, Sally, I beg you, let me land. That if he becomes president on the 7th of January 2017, it means June 2017 there will be no flooding in Ghana or in Accra. I mean, let us relax.
Saka, let him make his point.
Let us be very, very frank with ourselves. Let us be very true to ourselves. And let's not play politics with it. You understand me? There is no magical one Nanado is coming to throw around, and then our drains will become covered, and then people will stop and put packing refuse into our drains, and the silt that has piled up in the odor will go. No. Until and unless all of us as a people, the politicians become mindful. You spoke about demolishing and said that if those in power are minded and care about this country, they will just go and demolish. You can't just go and demolish.
No, you do the right thing before the demolition.
You can't just go and demolish. You need to get a court order. Now, when you went to get a court order, to secure a court order, don't forget President Kufuor demolished somebody's hotel in this country. You saw what the court did to the government. They slapped a $5 million judgment debt on us. Relax, Masa, relax. This thing, it is not politics, it's not pam-pam. It is reality. Let's call a spade a spade. If we are young men, if our fathers did not face this matter squarely, and that is why we are facing it today as young men. If we don't face it dispassionately, without political considerations, our children will not come and find the Kwame Nkrumah circle. So we need to call a spade devoid on this matter. Let's put politics aside, and let's call a spade a spade. Now look, until and unless Ghanaians are willing and ready to do the right thing. Honorable Edu Asare was speaking. He's not on the show, but I'll quote him. He says that close to Adenta ICGC, there is a place where the water sits, a receptacle for water they all know, growing up in Adenta. Today, if you go there, permit has been granted to somebody. The person has filled the place, compacted the place with concrete, and is building on it. So what is going to happen when that house is completed? It means that all the runoff water around the ICGC Adenta place, there will be no exit for it. Today, when it rains, the substation at GhOne is constantly getting flooded. If you understand the meaning of GhOne in Ghana, and the way GhOne was allowed to develop, and the fact that the major receptacle for water in GhOne is where Villaggio sits today.
What does it mean? What's GhOne?
GhOne. It's a deep. It's like a valley, a deep where water sits. A valley that collects water.
No wonder.
So if you watch the rains, and if you watch the topography of the area, when it rains, all the water from the Dimples Abelenkpe area, it sits down towards almost opposite Plant Pool.
Yeah.
And then all the one from Pig Farm, Kaukudi, it comes and sits there. So there's a deep valley there.
Absolutely.
And that valley runs all the way through along the railway line. If you
live the substation.
Exactly, through the substation, all the way to behind the building where the NHIS used to be in GhOne. I've lived there before. And when it rains, it is hell. You understand me? But it's simply because technocrats have not done their job well. They've given permits for people to build there, block the natural receptacle for water. You cannot stop water from flowing.
Okay.
So until and unless we become responsible, this problem will remain.
I'll let Robert come in. I'll come to you shortly. Robert.
Yes.
This is disgusting, actually.
It's all human waste.
Yeah.
Refuse.
That's
the amphibian.
Because I went to.
Saka, you speak when I ask you to speak. I'm sorry. And I said you will speak. So Robert will come in now. Robert.
Yes, Nana, let me, I cannot but to agree with my good friend Sami when he makes the point that regardless of whatever we do, if people don't recognize that they have a role to play, and when it comes to sanitation issues, it's a shared responsibility, then we will not make any significant headway. Look, I was in charge of Accra when the former mayor of Accra was in office, Honorable Adjei Blankson. Fantastic gentleman. He did a lot when it comes to sanitation issues in this country. The current Metropolitan Chief Executive, extraordinary, the passion that this man has when it comes to sanitation. He was the one who implemented the polluter pays principle, where we started the distribution of free beans and all that. These two gentlemen have worked consistently in Accra. They have passion for sanitation, yet still we have these problems. So I have always said that regardless of the number of equipment that we decide to import, regardless of the number of workers that we employ to the various MMDAs to go and work, if people don't recognize that they have a responsibility and they need to be responsible when it comes to sanitation issues, we will not make progress.
Okay, so the undertone from all of you here, maybe not necessarily from Saka,
yes,
is attitudinal
Nana,
problems.
as I speak to you now, just go to a place like Choko, Mamplobi or Nima. Anytime it's about to rain, that is when people find it expedient. They collect their refuse, their garbage, they wait. When they see that the clouds has formed, then they go and
Quite
dump
convenient.
it. So the point I am making
Robert,
is, yes,
Zoom Lion, I mean, you collect our refuse.
Certainly.
You are responsible for it largely.
Yes.
Why haven't you, embarked on any project to change our attitude, to compel us to do the right thing?
Nana,
do you do it?
Nana,
we don't listen?
As I speak to you now, we have a comprehensive program that we have been running from lorry parks, market centers. We also have adverts that we play. We go to radio stations.
But they all fall on deaf ears.
Certainly. And that is why we have been calling on the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, the environmental section, to ensure that they crack the whip. Because they are the custodians of the bylaws. And they have the mandate to enforce the bylaws. Because in order to engender attitudinal change, enforcement of the bylaws is critical and key. And I have in front of me here the bylaws that the AMA has. We also have the environmental sanitation policy, the revised version, the one that was sanctioned by Honorable Yiletre. And Anaba, with your kind permission, let me read this portion. It talks about every individual, establishment, institution, the fact that they must be responsible for cleaning their immediate environs. This is the policy, fantastic policy. And the assemblies have taken the policy and they have enacted their bylaws. The point I am making is that if you have this policy and you have enacted the bylaws, it is the responsibility of the assemblies to make sure that the bylaws that we have, they bite rather than backing. I am very much aware that the current Metropolitan Chief Executive, Honorable Alfred Oko-Vanderpoel, has established sanitation courts. Before he came, we didn't have sanitation courts in Accra. But we have always been saying that we need to increase the numbers. And we must be able to prosecute people and prosecute them expeditiously. We must also not give them ordinary fines. We must be able to give them stiffer fines. If the Accra Metropolitan Assembly has sanitation courts in the various sub-metros and they are prosecuting people, and you don't have sanitation courts in Ghana East, Adenta Municipal Assembly, or any of the adjoining assemblies, what happens is that the people over there will be reckless and they will be dumping refuse. And like Sami said, the water flows downstream to Accra, and therefore we will not solve the problem. until we recognize that we must all change our attitude, and until we recognize that waste management, environmental sanitation management is a shared responsibility, we will not make any significant headway. I believe that the work that this current mayor has done in Accra, and you look at the enthusiasm that he uses to do his things, and the fact that we still have these problems, then the problem has to do with the people, but not the systems and
so you don't fault the technocrats?
As for the technocrats, we will always wish that they will give us technical solutions to problems. But the point I am making is they are doing it, yes, so we have these problems. So the fundamental problem has to do with the fact that people are simply reckless and lawless.
Saka.
Yeah, Anaba. It's so easy for people to just target the public and then lay the blame on their doorstep.
You don't agree that attitudes are responsible?
No, I agree, but
to some extent.
To some extent.
Or a large extent.
I mean, to some extent.
Okay.
You see, like I said, it's so easy for people to abnegate their own duties and then, push the blame on the public. Look, if we have that attitude ourselves, the problem will never get solved. Because every day we will blame the people, every day we will blame you and I. But, like I said, leadership is key. It does not matter who lead us. If the person that is leading us as a nation come with his plan and say that this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to ensure that we never experience Accra flood again. Look, getting us out of this Accra flood thing, it's not something beyond Nanado. Like he was telling me. I mean, actually, I don't want to put politics in.
I wish you would not politic, really.
Yeah,
I wish you would take out the politicking.
I'm just setting an example.
Okay.
Because he believed that nobody can solve the problem. That is the reason why he says that Nanado
He didn't necessarily
say
that.
Nanado does not have a magic wand that he will just, flag and then the Accra flood will stop. But I'm saying that, okay, if you don't want me to mention Nanado's name, I'm not. No problem.
But feel free to mention it. I like Nanado's name. Feel free to mention his name.
I'm happy you like him and his name. But I'm saying that, Nanaba, with good leadership and with the mental fortitude that indeed we are going to fight this flood head on, it will be solved. One, we talk about people, throwing refuse recklessly, and when the clouds are gathering, you see people throwing, they're coming out.
Which is a fact.
Yeah, it's a fact. But you see, if the condition is created, is the fear of God is put on the people, for them to know that if you are caught doing A, B, C, and D.
Oh, hello there. Back to what he said about the bylaws.
No. You see, those bylaws, he himself has agreed that those bylaws are not biting.
But it is not for Zoom Lion to implement it. There is an authority responsible.
So that is the reason why I'm saying that
the
authority is not making the bylaws bite.
Okay.
The bylaws are just there in the books.
Beautiful.
For fun. You get a point. For the aesthetic value. But they are not biting as it should. You talk about even the creation of sanitation courts and all those things.
Right.
And the fact that when cases are presented, they are expeditiously dealt with and all that. But I am yet to hear a single case that has gone there expeditiously done with.
Do you monitor them?
Yes.
You monitor.
But I am in the system.
Wait, how many cases have been heard in the last quarter? No, seriously, Saka, because I really do not allow or cannot, cower when you try to rubbish the system. It is not entirely fair.
I'm not
Have you monitored in the last quarter? In the first quarter of this year, how many cases? How many cases?
I cannot give you the number of cases, but I'm saying that.
But you say that you cannot speak of one.
No, because we have not heard it in the news. We have not heard it anywhere that A, B, C, and D has been.
So if it's not reported in the news, then it is not happening.
So why is it that the deterrent? There is no deterrent in the system. Because according to all the
do you know the deterrent for armed robbery?
Pardon? Yeah, I know.
Okay. So do we have armed robbers still in the system?
We have, but even it's another topic for another day. Because even the way we fight armed robbery, it also leave much to be desired.
I see. You are a master of all, aren't you?
Not master of all.
Let's take a break.
Can you
We'll be back.
finish?
No, I'm taking a break. Okay. You're welcome back to the show. I'll take a few of your messages. And Winifred, who was listening to the mayor, says, there is nothing like a major destruction. Destruction is destruction. Rida the Zidiko says, sis, I'm watching you live from Ashaliboche. Keep the fire burning. Well, thank you for that message. We'll go for some more messages here. Okay. Pascal says that, well, I think the mayor has done well. The problem is with all of us and not just necessarily the politicians. Larry says, I have to agree with Sam George. Everybody is responsible for this. Let me go for some more messages here. Okay, this is coming from Aram Asansi, who says that, Nanaba, can you please ask the NPP gentleman to just keep quiet? We are fed up with politicians politicizing just about everything. Well, unfortunately, I can't ask him to keep quiet, but I can just correct him. And when he's going off track, I'll bring him back on track. Okay. Jamila Inseku says, Nanaba, please get the NPP guy out of your studio. Saka. You are incensing my viewers. I don't like it when people do that to them.
Jamila, not your viewers. Because some of them are also happy with what I'm saying.
We'll see.
But this is particularly coming from Jamila, who is not happy.
Yeah, she's a viewer.
So there are others who have not texted, but who are also happy.
Jamila should, yeah.
No, she shouldn't. But I'm saying that there are others who are also happy with what I'm saying, but I have not had the opportunity to text.
I see.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Deborah Bin Buam says, well, thank you for discussing the floods. It's just pathetic that every year we have to go through this. Felix Wanzak says, well, I don't think the gentleman is making enough sense. I'm not too sure which gentleman you're talking about. There are three of them here. Brima Ansa Amekomudi says that, well, I think that the floods have caused enough havoc. It's about time we sit up and deal with the issue. Enough of the politics. Well, it looks like there's a message, underlying message. Enough of the politics. And actually, when we are discussing floods and there's some traces of politics, I get so upset as well.
Yeah, Nanaba. I mean, how do you... We are talking about serious issue here.
Yeah, it's a very serious issue.
Nobody just want to talk politics for the fun of it. But I'm saying that politics drive everything. Look, even the Zoom Lion that we are talking about, if not because of politics, they would collapse. Because I'm saying.
Explain.
Listen. Let me explain. Can you let me talk?
Yeah, no.
That
I can ask you a question.
I'm going with the explanation. I'm saying that because they have to be paid through the public purse by the instrumentality of the politician. If the politician is not doing well, they will not get paid and they won't do what is right. You get a point.
Which politician?
So I'm saying,
what are you
why do you want to distort? To distort what I'm saying?
Distort. I'm asking you a question. How is that a distortion?
Politicians ruled the nation. That is the point. Politicians rule the nation. True or false?
Do they?
True or false?
Do they?
Are they not the leaders of this nation? So if something is going wrong, they have to bear the consequence. They have to bear, the blame. You get the point? Because I'm saying that leadership is everything. If we have
flood, you think leadership is only subject to government, or is only limited to government?
I'm saying that even the technocrats, the technocrats are under politicians.
They are under politicians.
Yes. The technocrats actually report to the politician.
Do they?
Yes. If you go to every department, the head is a minister. If any ministry, the head is a minister. So if anything goes wrong, it first have to start from the minister, then trickle down to the people who are supposed to take the various responsibilities. Right. But I'm saying that in this case of this flooding, if we want to just put the blame on the people, they are not doing what is, you don't leave some of these things to their moral suasion because you expect Mr. Coleman to do the right thing, and he's not doing the right thing, and the wrong things that he's doing is affecting the whole nation, you just come and sit down and be talking about that. Because there are people who will never change. But if there are, you know, consequences for their wrongdoing, you know, emanating, I mean, with a law emanating from the top, from the politician, the person, that is the reason why I say that we should first of all put the fear of God in them. That is the reason why you remember when...
How do you put the fear of God in them?
The fear of God is that if you see somebody doing the wrong thing, the person should face the law, the full rigors of the law. But if nothing is being done, the person throws garbage in the gutter and nobody does anything to him, don't you think that he would have been serving, this would have been serving as incentive to others?
Okay.
And he himself would do it the next day and do it again?
Robert Coleman, politicians are keeping you in business.
Nana, when Saka speaks about the fact that we must be able to put the blame on politicians, I respectfully want to hold an ambivalent view. You see, politicians come and they go. That is how come we had a former mayor, Ajay Blanton. He's no more there. Now we have Honorable Alfred Oko-Vanderpoel. Let me use these two gentlemen as a classic example. But we have the AMA coordinating director, who is a technocrat. We have the drains and maintenance unit of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. When you go to the sub-metros level, we have the chairman, we have the sub-metro director, the public cleansing officers, the environmental health officers. These people are not politicians. So I am surprised that he wants to say that the politicians should be blamed for everything, because we have technocrats and their position is not based on patronage. Their position is based on merit and qualification, and therefore they have a responsibility, a very bigger responsibility, to ensure that what must be done is done. Yes, the politicians are there. The politicians may not be a technocrat, but it is because of patronage he is there. But what about the technocrats who have been in the assemblies for all this while? So politicians will come and go, but the technocrats will always be there. So I don't think that we should always blame the politician. We must be in a position to blame most of the technocrats when some of these things go on badly. Because it is not as if they report yes to the politician, but they are there based on merit and qualification, and they must be in a position to recognize that.
Okay, just before Sam George comes in, let me just remind you that our social media messages, all those messages you've been sending to us, and our ability to read them to you is by kind courtesy of MTN everywhere you go. Sam George.
Abba, I've sat here and tried to listen to Saka and understand the logic he's putting forward. And the conclusion I can come to is that we must always blame the politician. So the next time I have a constipation, I will blame Nanado. Or the next time he has a running stomach, he will blame John Mahama.
Or if he has marital problems.
Or the next time his wife cooks and is not as nice as he wanted, or she gave him 2 pieces of meat instead of 3, John Mahama is to blame, or Pakusi himself.
You can trivialize the issue if you want.
No, because that's what you're suggesting.
You can trivialize
that,
it.
Look, if you understand how governance is and what governance is, you realize that the Town and Country Planning Department, in taking and in all the municipal assemblies, you have officers for Town and Country Planning that receive building permit requests. It doesn't go to the minister to determine who gets a building permit or who doesn't get a building permit. That ends on the level of the technocrat. So if you sit on TV, national TV, and suggest that what we are talking about here, which is the siting, one of the problems of our flooding, is siting of buildings on waterways, and you want to blame a minister for that, you don't understand governance, my brother. Because that building permit did not go before any minister. Not under President Rawlings, not under President Kufuor, not under President Mills, or not under President Mahama. That is not how governance is run in this country. That is why the directors are paid a salary. That is why they are technocrats. That is why at times you have a minister who has no planning background but sits there because his is policy. But when it comes to the real actualization of the policy, it is not the minister, it is the technocrats. And that is why I'm saying that I'm not sitting here because I'm a politician to say politicians have no blame. I have made that point clear that as politicians, we have a part of the blame on our necks.
Part of the blame should go to the politician. Tell us.
Oh, I've stated that.
But he
Maybe you weren't
stated that
listening.
already.
I'll
No, tell
repeat
us.
it again. What I'm saying clearly is that as politicians, we must be willing to take the bull by the horn. Okay? If it means us having to sleep in court to secure demolition orders, to demolish the bill. Oh.
What are you talking about, Saka?
What are all the state attorneys at the Attorney General Department for?
What are you talking about?
Anyway, as governments, when we are constructing drains, we must look to cover our drains. Let's not build open drains, because we know that the citizens want to always put refuse in the drain. So if you cover the drain, the ease with which they can pump refuse in is more difficult. And that is why when you go to the Western world and clean countries like Rwanda, you realize that their drains are covered. It is for a reason they cover their drains.
I mean, I have a problem with covered drains because
Okay. It makes it difficult for you to clear silt.
certainly.
You see,
Can you imagine if most of the drains that we have currently, especially the 19 tributaries that I am talking about, if they were all covered, what would be the situation? Because people will certainly dump refuse into them. And once we have not been able to solve that particular problem, if you cover the drains, it's going to be more problematic.
Come on, I agree with you. If I was suggesting a one-lane solution,
Yes.
you'd be perfectly right. But that's why I'm saying that it must be a collective solution, where as government is building us closed drains, the citizen must know that the small openings in there are not openings, it's not a piggy bank. The drain is not a piggy bank for refuse. Because we'll still leave small drains. And even in the Western world, where there are drains, you still have service entries in the drain. So even when you're building a covered drain, it will still be open for service to happen, for refuse companies that need to do the silting work to do. But then, as we are doing our covered drains, you also need to have the citizens know that the drain is to carry wastewater, not to carry residential refuse.
And who says the citizens don't know? Everybody
and that is why I am saying that until and unless the citizens begin to obey or carry out their civic responsibility. Look, we are not animals in this country. We are human beings with a capacity to think. Look, I breed dogs. I love dogs. You know, with dogs, if you put the cage of your dog in the front of your house, your dog will never defecate in front of the house. Dogs don't defecate where they sleep, except the very, very silly ones. But normally, if you watch dogs, and I breed dogs, where you put their cage, they go to the other side of the house and defecate there. So even if animals are able, even dogs are able to know that I can't put my waste where I sleep. As human beings, we must begin to become responsible. That is why there's something called our civic responsibility. The state has a duty to us to ensure that they pay the waste collector so that he can come on time. The waste collector has a responsibility to me as a citizen to come and pick my refuse without fail and on time. I, as a citizen, have a responsibility to pay the waste collector and make sure that the drain that the state has built for me, I am not covering it, I'm not pumping refuse into it. Until each and every one of us, the technocrat, has a responsibility to know that he is paid from our taxes to ensure that no unscrupulous citizen will build on a waterway. So until and unless all four of us are doing our right jobs, we'll continue to have this.
If the technocrat is doing the wrong thing, who should checkmate him? If the technocrat, like, because we have all concluded that the technocrats are doing the wrong thing. They give permit.
Not just the technocrat, all of us are doing the wrong thing.
But I'm coming. The technocrats are doing the wrong thing by giving permit to people to sites at places where they are not supposed to. Now, who is supposed to ensure that they do the right thing?
When complaints come,
together.
What do you mean together? Because it's a politician.
So when a complaint,
you get a point.
Listen,
it's a politician.
So when
because you as citizens,
explain how the politicians
I'm coming.
You don't forget that civil servants have a certain protection in the Civil Service Act. Where a politician cannot just come and fire a civil servant.
No, we are not talking about firing.
Saka,
We're not talking about.
Saka,
there
you
are
and I-
so
you and
many,
I-
so there are
so many things
There
like-
are mechanisms you
like-
can use
like-
to countermand
like-
that order.
Give me
Saka,
one.
Saka,
Like-
you and I.
Like
no, Saka, Saka,
you call for that particular permit and set a committee to
Saka,
Do you know how
and
many
I-
such
you and I-
permits have been given? So how many committees are we
Okay.
going to have?
Saka, you and I.
Oh, you can set a
reside-
committee to go into all
Saka,
this
you and I
come out with
reside.
reports.
You and I reside
But-
in Koto
but-
Babi.
So,
if
yes.
somebody should build on a waterway,
Yes.
and the technocrat does not say anything, you and I, will we allow the person to build?
But you know some
know
of
what
the
happened?
actions me and you we have been taking and all that. But I'm
So
saying
the
that-
point
but
I'm
saying
making
that
is
you can
we
take
also
those
have
actions.
a
You
responsibility
can take those
to
actions,
ensure
but it will
that
not go anywhere.
things are
if
done
they-
properly.
Look for
So
instance.
Saka, what you're trying to say is that for all of these buildings in waterways or on waterways, I don't know
Yes.
which one is right,
Yes.
but for all of these buildings, let's assume that they were all given permits.
Yes.
You don't think that some work has been done at all? No investigations have been done, no committees have been set, because you're saying you're accessing the politicians. I don't know why you want to say politicians all the time, but that's okay. But you don't think none of that has been done?
No. If something has been done about it, we are supposed to see the consequences of
But
their action.
you have seen some destruction of buildings and waterways in the past, haven't you?
Yes, we have seen that, and so you think that we have the rainy season has just ended, and we haven't seen.
Well, you should be
anything yet.
answering that
No, that's
question.
what I'm saying, because a lot has not been done. We know some of those buildings that were earmarked for demolition that has not been done. That has not been demolished.
But you think you can just get up and
And
go
it's,
and demolish
it's not about
people's
getting up. I
buildings?
know what
You
I'm
know
talking
the
about.
process.
I am not saying that politicians should just get up with this shovel or whatever. But I'm saying the right thing. You have to follow due process to ensure that those places are done away with. Because we are talking about lives and properties here. We are talking about ensuring that we do not get flood the next year round. But if you want to do business as usual, let's dilly-dally the issues, and you will not get the problem solved.
So in your heart of hearts, it's just the politicians who are responsible for the mess.
That is what I'm
we're in.
saying. We have the citizens are supposed to do A, B, C, and D. But it is the politician that will even ensure that they educate them. That is one. Because we have not.
Then we are giving you politicians a lot of power in this
Yes,
country. Then
a lot of power is invested in them.
No. What are you trying to say? So that if I have a problem in my area, I have to call in a politician. I'll call on
that is
you.
not what I'm saying.
I'll call on you. Because you're all
you make it so
politicians.
simplistic.
Because
But
you are
that-
making it simplistic.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
That the politicians.
You see, I don't want to be mentioning names. That is the reason why
Feel free.
I just broaden it by
Feel
saying
free.
politician. Because if I begin to give to lay the blame on the doorsteps of the current government, somebody will say, then why MPP and all that.
Okay.
That is the reason why I broaden it.
To all
Because
politicians.
look,
Let me take a break.
he was talking about policies and all that. For instance, if the politicians come out with the policy of a closed drain, it's a policy.
Okay.
So that if any assembly that refuses
Let's
to do
go
that,
for a break.
would
Let's go for a break. You're rather interesting, Saka. We'll be right back.
The future leaders of this nation need a strong foundation to empower themselves. We recognize education as the key to achieving this. That is why we are striving to provide the youth across Ghana with access to good education. We want to leave this legacy for them so that they too can lay claim to our country's bright future. Changing lives, transforming Ghana.
Introducing softening silk essence and delicate floral notes in the all-new Luxe Soft Touch for irresistibly soft, fragrant skin. Just a little Luxe. Ignite the spark, Luxe Soft Touch.
Order. Okay. Order.
Waiter! Life is better with MTN Mobile Money. It's easy, fast, and super convenient. Experience the new world of better money.
Okay, we've got just 1 minute to go. Robert, yes, it's almost 8:30. I'll let you have the last word.
Yes, Nana, I want to say that we must all recognize that waste management and environmental sanitation issues is a shared responsibility. And it is high time that we all come on board and then we try to complement the efforts of the various metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies. I am convinced that a lot of work is being done. The major issue currently has to do with attitude, behavioral change. That is a huge problem currently. And it's high time that we recognize that, we change our attitude, then we can make progress in this country. I am of the firm view that all is not lost if we are able to recognize every community, church leaders, traditional leaders, the chiefs in the various communities, recognize that they also have a significant role to play. We will make progress. How many people go to church on Sundays? It is high time that when the reverend ministers, the pastors, they mount the pulpit, they use 10 minutes of their preaching time to talk about sanitation issues, because we must all live in a healthy environment.
Thank you very much. Robert Coleman is the communications manager for Zoom Lion Ghana Limited. Saka Salia, member of the NPP communications team, and I dare say he's a master of all things.
Oh, don't
mind me, I'm just pulling your legs. And Sam George is the NDC parliamentary candidate for the Ningo Pram Pram constituency. Thank you so much for your time, gentlemen. Thank you so much for sending us your messages as well. And thank you for helping us trend. Tonight, we'll see you. Oh, tomorrow is a holiday, but yeah, of course, State of Affairs will still be on. Have a beautiful evening.